All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 99th episode of the Hideout. One short of 100 and coming up on 2 years of these weekly spaces. So super excited to be with everybody. Obviously, the market has been moving like crazy this last 2 weeks, or really week, since we were last here. So I know a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are back around after some time in hibernation. So welcome back to those of you who are just joining us, and also welcome back to the ones who have been here every week through it all with us. So for those of you who don't know me, because I see some new faces out there, my name is Nick Frontera. I am one of the founders and the CEO of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind Satoshiverse and the Legions 2029 game. The quick version of what we've been building now for the last 4 years with Satoshiverse is a blockchain themed, or what started as a blockchain themed comic superhero universe and has now become a gaming universe with our flagship game, Legions 2029. I won't say too much about Legions 2029 other than it is free-to-play PC game. It is a hack and slash mechanic with a roguelike game loop. It's got NFTs and blockchain deeply incorporated in the player progression. Again, it's free to play. All the details and some gameplay footage are in the tweet that I pinned at the top. So if you want to learn more about Legions, or if you haven't played before, we've got some really awesome things that we're working on right now that are coming up, but also initiatives that are currently going and going to be ending in the near future. So we're live with our season 1, which is coming to a close very soon. We're going to have announcements on dates very soon there for the Satoshiverse community. But yeah, check it out. Give it a try. We're actively building it. We're taking feedback in the community and kind of have been building that now for almost 3 years. So definitely, if you're into gaming, Web3 gaming, check it out. But moving on, we've got an incredible panel of guests today that are coming from all different sides of the metaverse. So definitely excited to have them on. I think we're trying to get one more guest on who may be having some technical difficulties, but we can try to, I guess, start. It looks like we here we go. I think that's everybody. All right, cool. So I think we've got the full set now. What we'll do is we will start with some brief introductions. Please tell us about what you're building, give us a little bit of insight about yourselves. Feel free to pin anything to the top of the space that you think would be, illustrative of what you're building, whether it's gameplay videos or cool assets or threads, whatever you think tells the story of the project. Please feel free to pin it to the top of the spaces. But with that, I will pass it on to our first guest of the morning, Spin Top. Welcome to the spaces. Good to see you guys.
Hello, quick sound check. Can you hear me? I've had a lot of issues today with Spaces.
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
Lovely, thank you. It's my first time, so thank you for having us. And I must say, it's an honor and a pleasure seeing all those faces down there. Thank you, guys.
Amazing. Well, give us a quick introduction of Spin Top, what you guys are building, and feel free if you have something to pin to the spaces. Feel free.
Yeah, sounds amazing as well. So, basically, connecting Web3 games and gamers with SpinTap. This is what we're doing since 2021. Actually, next month is the third anniversary of our token release. It's also a funny story. We launched the token in the morning, and in the afternoon, Bitcoin dipped, and yeah, there was the bear market. So we said, yeah, let's push with the products. Let's design something that is filling the gap in the Web3 space, which is helping games find gamers and vice versa. We have a Gamepedia, which is basically an aggregator for Web3 gaming. If you go there, you can see pretty much all of the games that there are and developing a full list, and also introductions and token information and everything. Yeah, this is it, I guess.
Amazing. Well, excited to have you on. I know we will dive into some questions very soon. Let's jump over to Kuga. Welcome to the spaces.
Hello guys, what's going on? This is Kuga, this is Kiro, the CMO of Kuga. Today, my main focus is which game will your kids be scanning and playing in the drive-thru? Just 1.5 hours ago, Web3 broke into fast food. Doodles x McDonald's is here. This changes everything. This affects every IP in the Web3 space, especially gaming IP. I look forward to discussing forever who will be the first Web3 game in a Happy Meal.
I love it. Well, yes, as we start to see things break into the mainstream, I think there's going to be, a ton of opportunity. I think that, and we might be able to talk about this later. There's always interesting discussions when we start to look at, kids and Web3 and how we're eventually going to have Web3, hit a broader audience because it's been so targeted at 18 plus in the last cycle. So when you say, Web3 games and a Happy Meal, my mind goes crazy with what could be the future. But I am sure we will get to that. Thank you for the introduction. Let's jump over to NetVRK or Network. I'll let you guys introduce the name better than I did. Uh-oh, looks like we may have lost you. Are you there? I think we might have lost them briefly. Let's try to get them back up.
Yesterday I'm releasing Silk. So our project called Network Metaverse. It's a game where users can create their own games. And we believe that a metaverse should be a place that people create and not just a big studio, because it's like impossible to create a whole gigantic world by yourself. Look at James Cameron with Avatar. It took him 10 years in just one movie. It's exciting now. The crypto bull run seems like it's gates. We've released so far 3 weeks ago the first version of the social parts of network where you can use your NFTs, whatever people bought for avatars from different partners. 2 years ago now it's accessible in the metaverse and network, and a huge update is coming, which is Silk AI. It's an AI NPC that we developed with our trained language model. My background is engineering and arts. I made a top 10 mobile game when I was 25, and I'm excited to be in the metaverse space with you guys.
I love it. Well, definitely excited to dive in. We get a lot of interesting use cases of Web3 and AI come across the show, and I think it's awesome. Every time, it kind of blows my mind about how many different angles there are and how deeply integrated the potential, crossover is. So excited to get into it, and to get us into it and to clean up anything I missed. Let's go over to Spencer on the Hideout account.
What is going on, everyone? My name is Spencer Vogel. I'm the business development manager here with Apollo Entertainment and Satoshiverse. So before I get into my spiel here, I'm going to pin a post to the top of the spaces. So we do a giveaway every week on our spaces. It looks like it made its way up there. So in order to win our giveaway, which is going to be for 5 Satoshi's crystals, all you have to do is repost that tweet that I just posted to the top that says we're live, and then just be here at the end of the space. Satoshi's crystals are one of the main in-game resources within the Satoshiverse and Legions 2029. Really, really important in-game asset that's needed in order to upgrade and progress your items and your avatars. So definitely something you want for playing the game. So all you have to do, like I said, is repost that tweet at the top, and then just be here at the end of the space. So I see a couple of those reposts coming in, so appreciate you guys doing that. And then also give the Hideout account that I'm talking from for right now a follow if you have not already. So getting into the format of the space, we're gonna start out with a group question. So I'll call on someone to start, and then feel free to just jump into the conversation from there. No need to raise a hand or anything like that. Then we'll move into some individual questions for each of you guys, and then if we have time to get at the end, we'll do some group questions once more. So let's start off with the first group question, and Spin Top, why don't you start us off? So in what ways do you think NFTs and true ownership of digital assets will most significantly impact society in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I personally believe that Web3 and ownership tokens and NFTs changed a lot of stuff in not just in being a community or supporting a project. You are more of a shareholder now. And we have seen that in Web3, everyone is more active and engaging in Telegram, in Discord, in people are creating some feedback forms as well. So now we can actually, as a player, answering this as a player first, I can actually, if I like a game and I play it and then I see some bugs or something that I like or I don't, I can actually directly speak with the team nowadays. And since I invest in token and NFTs as well, I'm somewhat of a shareholder. This is just like in the movies, where the fourth wall is broken, the fourth barrier. It feels something like that. I mean, I'm not just a supporting and shouting and creating content on that. I'm rather a shareholder and I can be a part of the team personally and individually. So the true ownership of digital assets are empowering the communities and it's granting control in the game assets and identities as well, in my opinion. So I believe we'll see a future where players will have genuine equity in games as well, not just some part of the NFTs. So this will lead to a player-driven economy, 100% player-driven economy. Because I've seen a couple of games, I've been speaking with a lot of games, and I've seen a couple of games where people started creating a Web2 game. Doesn't have to do anything with tokens or NFTs, but you enjoy playing for 40, 50, 60, how many hours you want. And then, as an end game scenario, people have started adding tokens and NFTs in game as well. So quality is over there for sure. We as Pinta, we're working on creating infrastructures to make those assets interoperable as well, because we believe this is the future. And with the mass adoption that we are always speaking on Twitter Spaces and pretty much everywhere, I think this is bringing the next step, 100% community control.
Everyone else, feel free to jump in.
All right.
I
So
Alfred will go. Sorry.
go for it. Go for it. I surrender.
No, I surrender. You first.
We're like a Gopher cartoon. After you. No, after you. So, Satoshiverse, can you give us the question again? So I heard the question. I heard the response from Spintop, and it seems that ownership and community is the main focus of building on Web3 versus Web2. But can you give us the question one more time?
Yeah,
Sure.
I,
Sure.
I,
Go
I,
ahead,
I
Spencer.
could do it. Yeah, totally. So it was just in what ways do NFTs and true ownership of digital assets, in what ways will they most significantly impact society in the next few years?
All right. Few years is the key word here. What's happening now is first the gambling, then the IP, then the gaming. All right. So we've seen the speculation of valuation of the cryptocurrency be the main appeal for the normies, the consumers, mass adoption. Now we see an IP supercycle as of this morning. You have an IP, Doodles, debut the Doodleverse movie at Toronto International Film Festival, LA. Now they're dropping at McDonald's. You have different brands like Crocs, Adidas, G-Shock partnering with the Doodles. How do you break through mass adoption with an IP? And then furthermore, how do you get the masses to want to participate in a game of that IP? So nothing is new. Pokemon is my best example. You have a card game, you have the Game Boy video game, and then you have the cartoon, and then you have everything that comes with having a banger IP. Kids waking up to the IP, going to sleep in the IP, in their blankets, comforters, pillowcases, playground, playing Pokemon with their friends, playing cards with their friends, watching Pokemon before school. So what I'm getting at is, in order for gaming NFTs to ever be a part of discussion, you have to start with IP. That's my thesis.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think, it kind of lends into something that we talk about a lot, on this basis, both points, actually. And that's that we're starting to see kind of this separation of NFTs, from the NFTs, the tech versus, NFTs, the thing. And I think that when we saw the 21 cycle start, it was NFTs the thing, right? It was this new thing that everybody was excited about. You had PFP collections and all these little mini communities that were running off of this idea that NFTs were this new thing, and this was going to be what revolutionized, digital asset ownership. I think that a lot of builders in the space and people who have been here for a long time, we're also thinking about NFTs, the technology, right? Which to some degree conflicts with NFTs, the thing, because what NFTs, the technology, and blockchain, the technology, do for digital assets isn't a super flashy, thing that should be the selling point. It's more what should eventually become the standard operating procedure, right? And that idea of digital ownership, I guess, going back to the question, is something that with physical assets we've come to expect. It's something that with just about anything that you say you own, you have certain expectations around what ownership means there. And I think that with digital assets, digital assets have been around for a long time, and the concept of ownership has been very prevalent in gaming, right? Gaming's a really good example of digital assets that people think that they own. But when we start to look at the difference between, legally and just in the things you can do with physical assets versus digital assets really don't look anything like physical assets in their current form, right? This Web2 conception of digital assets. And so when we start to think about NFTs as the technology, the things that they start to do is this, and we say it a lot here, this tangibilization of digital assets, making digital asset ownership look a lot more like physical asset ownership, whether that's the ability to sell it downstream, right, with these, open marketplaces, or whether that is the ability to use it in a universe outside of the one it was intended to be used for, which is near impossible for most digital assets in closed gaming ecosystems. Whether it is some degree of IP ownership, whether it's, kind of to Spintop's point, some degree of community funding that creates a stake in it, or whether it's a completely new use case that we haven't seen at all in the Web2 space. Some of the things like peer-to-peer skill-based gaming, that gets outside of gambling and some of these kill-to-win type of games that we've had on the spaces. So I think that NFTs, the technology, is the less flashy but more sustainable version of where this is all going. And I think that NFTs, the technology, scales with a different thesis. It's not necessarily the thesis of, will NFTs be a thing? Will blockchain be a thing? It's more will people want to own digital assets? Will digital assets be a thing, and will it be important to own those digital assets and have some degree of control over them? And I think that that's why you're starting to see, whether it's game developers or IPs or whatever it may be, they may not be sold on the decentralization aspects of blockchain. They may not be ideologically aligned kind of with the ethos of this space. But what they're seeing is that digital is here to stay. There is no question in my mind, and I think most people who are tuned into the space, that the digital asset market is only going to grow exponentially, and NFTs become a huge part of that. But what was said earlier is a really important thing. We're not talking about $50,000 monkey pictures, right? And as someone who owns a $50,000 monkey picture, I say that lightly, but I don't think that is the future of NFTs. I think the future of NFTs is free inserts into Happy Meals that can become collectible, like the little Beanie Babies, when I was a kid, that you would collect from those Happy Meals. Limited in time and in scope, and then collectible down the line as part of a greater digital asset, portfolio or collection or whatever you want to call it, all usable in different places because certain metadata standards are followed. I think that's the future of digital asset ownership. And I think as we start to talk about AR and VR and how the physical world is going to be amplified by the digital world, I think we're going to start to talk a lot more about the importance of digital assets in that. And so, yeah, I think that when we talk about what is the value that NFTs bring, that blockchain brings, for me, it's NFTs as a technology. It's the infrastructure layer to have real, tangible digital assets that can be owned, that can be transferred, that give people rights over them. And for me, that's a no-brainer. That is the thing that we need. It is the only thing that lets digital assets really scale, that allows licensing infrastructures to be built. I was a lawyer before I started all this. So, from my lens is always, how does this work in a way that is legal, and mass adoption, requires less gray area in the law. And I think that that's also something that we're going to start seeing as more regulation comes down the pipeline, is you'll see more and more companies willing to engage with this tech. Because, yeah, it's not easy for a McDonald's to say, hey, yeah, we're going to do an NFT type of collaboration, because there's risk, right? And in 2021, there was a lot of risk. And, we talked to some of those companies and they weren't willing to just jump in. And that's a thing, that is a thing that over time will become less and less of this weird, technology, and more, this is just a layer to digital asset ownership that, allows it to happen. And I think that companies will get behind digital, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we can see it already now. Like 2 years ago, I said people bought NFTs for network game. And now I hang around with a community in the metaverse, and I can see partners that we partnered 2.5 years ago when they purchased ROG collections. And I always looked at it like this, that, it's in the end of the day, what is collectibles? It's a gamble in a way, right? You purchase like a card in you mentioned, Pokemon, and you believe in an IP, you want to have a part of it, and one day it becomes Pokemon, right? So like, I definitely agree with you guys about that. Also, I think the future of the NFTs in the next like few years, as you say, is gonna lean towards AI actually, because I think that people will start NFTing creations like, language models, like basically not entire language models, I'm sorry, like prompting, because the
Is it just me or network? Are you rugging?
I think we're
Uh,
getting a little bit of, I think you might be cutting out a little bit, network.
So Network, you were speaking about language models and AI integration in gaming. Maybe you were leaning into user-generated content discussion using AI tools.
I think we might have lost him, so we'll try to get him back up now. I think he'll just have to rejoin and come back in. But
While we wait for him, I like that touch point about UGC. Um, that's a fun thing because you think of everybody who plays like Minecraft, for example, or Roblox, and these gamers for over a decade now have built entire universes, and it's nice to have the opportunity to have a safe way to invite players into your created worlds and buy, sell, and trade, exchange your unique creations. So, with the integration of Web3 tech marketplaces, you won't have those nightmare scenarios where kids lose their entire account. Kids are taken advantage of by scammers. So that's a big touch point of Web3 gaming is security for the creator economy.
yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Right. I think UGC also allows for peer-to-peer payment rails to be implemented and for direct contracting, right? And I think that I mean this is just my thesis long term. But I really think that the direction we're going to see digital assets go and where NFTs are really going to shine from a UGC perspective is that I think as digital assets and gaming and metaverse all become more standardized, we're going to see interoperability standards emerge. And I think what we're going to see from a UGC perspective is not so much games like Roblox or Minecraft driving UGC generation, but instead games like Roblox or Minecraft or any Web3 game using UGC integration, right? The ability to use that in your metaverse as almost a standard way to drive users. And I don't think it'll be standard at the beginning. I think there'll be a lot of places that are walled gardens and, certain brands don't want to touch more open UGC. But I think there is going to be this concept of more open UGC where a person, an artist can develop an avatar for you that's custom and really cool and meets certain standards for interoperability. And then by default, because it's a blockchain asset on a certain blockchain, it will be usable in 25 different experiences that artist or that user who purchased it will be able to tap into and be incentivized to go to those experiences because they support it. I think that is kind of the teacher analogy that sometimes I talk about on here, which is, at some point you have to be able to take your digital assets everywhere, just like you can take your physical assets everywhere. And I think as we talk about identity and how people, express their uniqueness through the art that they own, the assets that they own, through their avatars, that's going to become more and more wanted, right? As more people are spending more time digitally, and as digital starts to emerge in the physical world through AR, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And so for me, I mean, the ultimate UGC narrative isn't necessarily how do we get UGC in a particular metaverse or world. It's what happens when UGC can break outside of those bounds. And we just have the ability to say, this is a digital asset that complies with this, interoperability standard, but it's also an NFT. And the NFT part there is important because it allows the ecosystem to verify that you actually own that asset before representing it in their world through whatever interoperability procedure is generated. I think that's where this all probably goes. Probably looking at more of a 3 to 5 year timeline on that in my eyes, probably a little further out than maybe we talk about on here, but I think that that's where the real crazy market for UGC through NFTs emerges, because I think otherwise, yeah, you can go on Fortnite, you can build an island, you can go on Roblox and you can build skins, you can go on Minecraft and build UGC items as well. But at the end of the day, you're in that closed garden. I think the walls can really come down with NFTs and the potential, but I think we need to have sustainable business models around that. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of resistance from these, games that are making a lot of money off of UGC. And I think SpinTop hit that point before with kind of real 100% user ownership and incentivization layers to some of these Web3 projects that some of them are building.
Let me go one step further. What happens when Doodles comes to Fortnite? Let's just go there, okay? Let's just go straight to Fortnite. If Doodles could get Pharrell, Lil Wayne, Lil Yachty, a Doodleverse movie, if they can get Crocs, if they got McDonald's, what happens when they get Fortnite? Like officially, what happens then? How do you integrate the IP into Doodles? We've seen it with Super Plastic, Gujimon, and Janky. They are Web2 native and heavy in Web3, but that's as close as we've gotten to a crossover. Now we're jumping from Web3 native IP into Fortnite. What happens when Doodles comes into Fortnite?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I can kind of give you my thoughts. I was at GDC last year, and the Epic team was doing a whole presentation on how Fortnite's creator model is going to expand, in time. And we've actually, we've created a Fortnite experience, and I think it's a really interesting model right now. It's maybe one of the more restrictive models of all of them out there. So, the reality, if I have to say, in the next 2 years, if Doodles is in Fortnite, what it's going to probably look like is a couple Doodles characters that you can play as skins within the walled garden. I think people will get real excited in our space. I think people will get real excited just like, for the potential of IP-driven mass adoption. But I think the reality is that is something that flows from the IP being good, not necessarily from some sort of Web3 angle or some sort of community angle. I think, you look at the success of Pudgy Penguin, which I think is maybe the best example right now of, breaking into mass adoption and what they do. Pudgy Penguin has one of the best social marketing, social media campaign and teams that I've seen in any IP. And that's one of the things that drives, a ton of their engagement, is that they've got these characters, they come up with really cool stuff, and people just like the characters. It has nothing to do with the fact that you can buy their NFT in Walmart and maybe have a digital twin. That's cool, but they're 5 years ahead of their time there, and that's not going to drive anything. I think maybe we see it in the future and we say, oh, this is a really cool early example of what was possible and what will be possible. But yeah, I think if we see Doodles in Fortnite, I think if we see Doodles in McDonald's, I think if we see apes, start to break into, we saw Adidas get involved. We've seen major retail come in and say, we're interested in dipping our toes in this and doing that through a collaboration with the brand. I think Super Plastic's a great example. Those guys run an excellent, we've talked to them quite a bit recently, and they have an excellent strategy about Web3 because they know what's coming. They know how big digital is going to be, but they're also, have a very successful business model in Web2. So the idea is to find the things that work, to kind of pay attention as others experiment, and to, adopt the things that work and work with their business model. I think that's how the major players are going to move things forward. I think that when we start to talk about major players, meaning established, Web2 IPs like or companies like McDonald's or Fortnite or whatever it may be. I think when we talk about the potential for something to break through, right? Not necessarily an IP to break through, because we look at Pokemon and how long it took for that to become what it is today. I think there's a very, 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 very long way to go for any Web3 native IP that currently exists to reach Pokemon levels, right? We're talking orders of magnitude. But the path is there, right? We can talk about what needs to be done from an IP perspective. And I think there's a lot of IPs that are beginning that journey. And it's great to see. And, I would love to see Doodles become, they raised at a $750 million valuation. So, they have plenty of money. They should be the ones leading this charge and bringing in the right people. So it's awesome to see that, because I do think that's going to help us continue to develop the space in a sustainable way. All right, I'll jump back to you, Kuga, and then I think we might
Yeah.
need to move on to the individual questions.
Now, Network, Spintop, and myself, and of course Satoshi and Hideout, just to put a bow on this thesis, what IPs present here? We've already, waxed poetic about Doodles and Pudgy. What specific IPs are we building that have a chance to make it in a drive-through or a desktop or handheld gaming device? What IPs are we building in Web3 personally, in our own games that can succeed? And this is a question for either here or later, but this is what I'm obsessed with. Thank you for sharing your expertise on this specific topic. I'm not part of the Doodles team. I'm not part of the Pudgies team. I do want to build games for the Pudgies. Doodles have entered the arena with no fucks, unapologetically. If Spintop Network, if you could build an IP, if you are building an IP, what are these characters? What are these worlds that have a chance to play with Doodles and Pudgies?
Well, we're not building an IP or a game, but rather we're building a bridge between people who will be using those IPs, and who will be playing those games, and who are building those games and creating those IPs. So we are positioned, I can say, right in between, bridging them together. Also, in my opinion, if I were personally, not answering as pinned up, but personally as just myself, if I were to start and try and create an IP, something to last for decades, if that would be possible, I would say the extent of this would be collaborations. Collaborations which are not just bringing new skill sets which you don't have. I would say the first step would be increasing your knowledge, working as hard as you can, and first obtaining those skill sets for yourself, and then collaborating with others who have skill sets which are complementing you. This is what I wanted to say, because I don't mean by collaborating with you're creating something new and then you're collaborating with someone huge and using their traffic. No, not this one. But rather collaborating on skill sets which are completing you and which you are completing someone else. Just like a puzzle, you're actually connecting the pieces together. Yeah, I would say this.
This has been an awesome discussion here on this first question here, but I want to move us along to individual questions just in the interest of time. So the first one actually will be to Spin Tops. You guys are already up here. So I know you guys are doing some cool things in the questing platform world. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how do you think Web3 brands can benefit from questing platforms, and how can these questing platforms help foster community and brand loyalty?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So basically, we're building a questing platform as well, with a little twist, I can say, something extra always. Yeah. So it will be live for testing next week. If you guys are curious as well, feel free to reach out to us or You will see it on our Telegram as well and Twitter as well. So basically, what I've seen in the past year emerging with these Quest platforms is they started something good. They started an action where people actually started being UGC. Like we just spoke about user generated content. And the thing that I previously said about being an owner and then a shareholder of the games, this way you can actually support more as well, because there are a lot of people who want to support your project. They want to share some tweets or they want to create some content, but they don't have a guideline in their hands. So rather just using those questing platforms for some airdrops or farming for players or users, I would say show them a light. Just hold the lantern and they will find their way eventually, because they want to do something. And with this quest, you can actually tell them to do something specific, which will help them and help you as well. And then they can earn something if you want. If you're so generous to give away something, totally fine. It's good as well. And we are creating something like this. The beta testing will be next week, but then the next step is creating in-game quests, basically. So rather than having those social follow Twitter, join Discord, classic drill, we are also asking people to go in the games and try out the game. So if it's a car racing game, finish 10 laps of races. If you're killing aliens, just, 10 headshots to the aliens and then create some content and share it. And so you are actually engaging more in a deeper level. Yeah, this is what I see here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And yeah, we're excited to chat with you guys a little bit more about what you guys are building and see if there's a good way for us to collaborate. So excited to have a conversation very soon about that. So moving on to our next individual question here, which is going to go to Network. So what do you think are some of the largest challenges with building a sustainable, decentralized metaverse ecosystem? Network, do we still got you up here? I think you're currently on mute. All right. Well, Network, I'll let you try to figure out what's going on with your audio there, and hopefully we'll be able to get to your individual question. But we will move over to Cairo and talk about the next one. So Kuga is very focused on building its own original IP, which is something that we've been talking about a lot this morning. So how do you think strong IP influences the long-term success and brand loyalty of a game specifically? And kind of really just, I guess, if there's anything else that we didn't really talk about before in that earlier discussion that you'd like to add to.
Right, yeah, we built an upside down cake, and I am really fired the F up about this morning's McDonald's. McDonald's itself has brand loyalty, so when Spintop talks about partnerships and leveraging each other's strengths, you have game developers like Kuga who can build banger games fast and inexpensive for multiple platforms for a company like, say, Doodles. And like you mentioned, Satoshi, they have a near $1 billion war chest. And as you can see, their net worth value doubled within the past hour and a half. NFT season is back. IP super cycle is real. So now you have a demand. The meta yesterday was gaming with new IP. You need new touch points and experiences to be built. So I look forward to not only building the Kuga IP, but collaborating with XYZ company, whether it be Pudgy, whether it be Doodles, whether it be Yuga, and helping, or Azuki, and helping bring different game experiences for every mobile platform, every PC, laptop, gaming platform. Kuga itself, as an IP, we have led with our Steam title, and then we have a Web3 native Steam title that we are testing right now. Please feel free to join and play test with us. It's fun. It's Kuga Rumble Arena, and we have a companion app, the Miahala companion app, which is essentially your inventory and pass. You can quest. If you remember the Pikachu hardware device that was a pedometer, accumulated your steps to raise voltage, infrared compatibility with the Game Boy Advance. So nothing is new. We're simply recreating everything that we could ever dream of using new technologies. So the Telegram companion app is also testing, and we look forward to being able to integrate our know-how to different IPs. Now the Kuga IP, we're Fighter Cats in a Rumble Arena. You'll learn more on the pinned trailer on my profile, but I'm here to always learn from new voices. I listened to your spaces from prior weeks, and I'm here to add value to the conversation. And today, my only focus is McDonald's brand loyalty to the Ronald and the Grimace and the Hamburglar, and how I can get Kuga in a Happy Meal in the next 3 years.
Awesome. Well, that would be an incredible goal for, I think, any IP in the Web3 space. And, it's amazing that the Duels got there first, but let's hope that there's room for the rest of us as well. Network, are you able to hear us now? Just wanted to check.
I just invited to get him back up. I'm not sure. I don't see him as a speaker, so let's see.
All right. Well, doesn't look like it's happening right now. But it looks like we got a few more minutes here for one more group question, and then we'll announce the giveaway winner and close out the space. So reminder for anyone who's joined us since the beginning, we're doing a giveaway on our space. We're giving away 5 Satoshi's crystals, which is one of the main in-game resources within the Satoshiverse, and Legions 2029 is the main resource needed in order to upgrade your avatars and your in-game items. Really, really important resource. So in order to win those 5 Satoshi's crystals, all you have to do is repost that tweet that we have posted to the top of the space that says "We're live," and then just stick around until the end of the space when we finish up. So good luck to everyone on that one, and make sure you join if you haven't already. And then our final group question, and let's have maybe Nick. What do you want to start us off on this one? I feel like I've been starting off with everyone else recently. So what features or safeguards are necessary to create inclusive virtual spaces in Web3 that serve diverse communities?
Well, I think that it's a tough question, and I think that when we're thinking about features, right, and Web3, and I guess this concept of diversity in Web3, the way I think about that is that by its very nature, Web3 is global, right? So we are looking at communities. Let's take Satoshiverse, for example. Within a month, our community wasn't like you launch a typical product. Maybe you launch it in the US if you're a US company. Maybe you launch it in a particular locality. You've got your people going out to events. If you're launching a soft drink, people are starting to like it. They're starting to talk about it. Maybe now you're on social media. People are talking about it online, but you're kind of centered to a particular location. In Web3, you're often not, right? So when we launched Satoshiverse within that first month, we had, thousands of users from all over the world who spoke completely different languages. And that was a challenge, right? Because thankfully a lot of them spoke English and we were able to communicate in English, but it wasn't just the languages. It was cultural customs. It was, the way that people provide feedback and understanding that different cultures treat things like, critique differently. And some cultures may be more straightforward. Some might be less, right? Whether it's collaboration and you're collaborating with projects from all over the world. I think if we're talking about features, I think there's a lot of neat things that have come in, for example, on Discord for, natural language translation of forums, things like that, where you can, have communities that are more diverse, but really, gear conversation in a single language or in the native language. Even little things like using hammer time, right? Which is, I think, what it's called. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's the time where you put in a little function and it spits out the time in their local origin. And there's like a little function you can use in Discord when you post the time, and that does it. I think just even little things like that go a long way, because if you're doing a drop, if you're trying to convey information about an event, you really always have to have in mind that your community is not centered in one location. And I'm just looking at, for example, the group here that we see every week. I know we have at least 10 different countries, represented. And so that's just our core people who are showing up every week are coming from completely different areas of the world. We as a company are spread between Canada, the US, and Colombia. So there is, cultural, even internally with how we're building our products, we have to think about diverse viewpoints. And I think that's a huge value add that Web3 lends itself to very naturally. But I don't know that it's necessarily that Web3 needs features. I think it's more about a mindset that if we're talking digital, if we're talking Web3 and we're talking blockchain, we're talking about a global community. And I think that any founder that wants to have success in this space long term needs to have in mind that they will have a global community for their IP. And so, having that in mind and making sure that your messaging and that your, practices are not just, legally compliant, because I think that's going to be a much more tricky thing as we move forward, with all these different jurisdictions, but also kind of like lend themselves well to different viewpoints and different communities. I think that's really important, and I think that drives a lot of success. I don't know that it's key, because I think it's key if you want to succeed, but I don't know that it's, something that you can't do without, because you probably still can have niche communities. I mean, we see, for example, there's a few games that I heard of for the first time that are huge in the Asian market, but haven't broken into some of the Western markets yet. And we're talking, hundreds of thousands of users for some of these projects that are really, really driving, and building IPs in the Asian market, and now can break in, but there's barriers to that, right? And I think that's where you see these opportunities for collaboration and things coming forward. And I think that's, where we start with this. Go ahead, Kuga.
I'll keep it short. Keep us far away. Web3 communities. Have you seen crypto Twitter? We will set the entire space back. If we dare allow the normies to play with us, it's not safe. It's gonna be. I mean, Elon can't even manage the censorship. But it's centralized or decentralized. It's gonna be chaos. No one is safe. My hope is that with implementation of like hardware from Meta, leading the way for AR tech, there's going to be safe opportunities to maybe FaceTime with your peers. But when it comes to a complete submersion in a no borders, no filter metaverse, there's not we're humans. You're just gonna take everything that's contentious from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, and it's gonna be the same shit show. So I would say get ready.
That's why we need
for
AI.
chaos.
Guys, can you hear me now, anybody?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, no way. I was like listening, and this, I don't know, somebody needs to talk with Ellen about this space, X space. Listen, so I gotta go because my son is being kept with me now. He's just 3 weeks old. But I just want to say that I think that the most important, here's my dog as well, Jesus. Most important thing about the NFT that we can do, all of us together here who are creators of these platforms, is to be persistent in what we're doing and to create develop tools and methods for people to be able to leverage this technology for their own sake. So if it's about interoperability, we need to start having, as mentioned here, a discussion about partnership where we can, develop tools for developers, for people that are able to create a language as a prompt for a character that they can take across different games where they have interactive NPCs where they can create an avatar using some maybe SDK that is like an individual app to be able to then come with it to network or to come with it to another metaverse or like Minecraft. I think that we're doing this. That the fact that those companies that I'm talking with them now here are still here after all these years. We're here network after 7 years already, still kicking, releasing the Metaverse 3 weeks ago, and now going to continuously update creation engine, which will allow people to create tools and games. AI release, because I think that NPCs will fill up those places, and as you can see now already, people are starting to be very connected to digital interactions. I think the space is gonna grow really big. NFTs are not dead. NFTs been waiting because people purchased them, but there was nothing to do with them. Now when projects like Network and other projects here are going to be available to the public, and people will start seeing that they can use their NFTs within the game, that their NFTs are making money for them, and generating publicity, etc. People that are saying that it's dead are going to be, happy or not happy about it. But point is that NFTs are here. I think that AI is going to be a very big thing that's going to be NFT'd, because prompting, I think it's huge, where you can create a character and then basically sell it as a skin with its own brain, let's call it like this. This is what we're doing as well with Network now. After a year of development of our AI interactive avatars called Silk AI, we're releasing it, and I think this year is going to be amazing for crypto and in general for Web3 gaming. I have to go, guys. I appreciate that you're inviting me here. Sorry that this X is working like I don't know what. And yeah, I gotta go. My baby's waiting for me. Thanks.
Amazing. Well, it was great having you on. Really appreciated your perspective. And yes, get back to your kid.
Thanks. Bye. Cheers.
Awesome. So I think now is a good time to announce the winner of our giveaway. So the winner of our giveaway this week for 5 Satoshi's crystals is Disguised Phoenix, or at Bone Free Pizza. Congratulations, Disguised Phoenix. In order to win your prize, or claim your prize rather, all you have to do is create a free account on on game.legions2029.com. That was game.legions2029.com. So just create a free account there and then send us a DM on the Satoshiverse account with your username, and we will drop those into your account. Congratulations again. And then, Nick, I will pass it back to you to close us out.
All right. Thank you, Spencer, and congratulations to the winner. Again, really, really great space, guys. Really enjoyed the discussion. For those of you who weren't here in the beginning, just a quick plug. We are building Satoshiverse, as well as this space that we have weekly. If you enjoyed the discussion, please come back next week, follow the Hideout account, follow the Satoshiverse account. In fact, follow all of the speakers, who took time out of their day to be here and talk about their projects. For those who are interested in gaming and a game that's been in development for the last 3 years now, please check out Legions 2029. It's free to play, no downside, got lots of stuff going on within the game. It's a story-driven game, so check it out. We've got Season 1 is currently live. There's a free battle pass where you can get tons of really cool stuff. And there's a bunch of contests. You can win USDC. So lots of cool stuff there. Too much to go into. Check out the pinned tweet for all the information and create Allegiance 2029 account. I will kick it over to SpinTop and then Kuga to close out. And then once everybody is done chatting, we will close out the spaces. Thank you again to all the speakers and to everyone who joined us live today.
Yeah, thank you everyone. It's been an honor and a pleasure. As I said, it was my first time today. Hopefully there will be more because I enjoyed it a lot. I hope we shared good insights and hopefully just had a light bulb somewhere in your head just to check more and learn more. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the time and exploration. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Network. Congratulations on being a dad. Hideout and Satoshiverse. I'll see you around.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Closing up the spaces now.